And what you see, we touched upon briefly about the evolution of this, right? And I know in the background there are other players, like Sheel and Manohar and others are also thinking about various things. And Sheel has already done the one of the KT sessions, which is really good to see, right? I think definitely what from my perspective, if I look at the learnings that I've got and why it really excites me being part of that club the last 2-3 years is, if not for anything else, even if I had a bad day, right, there is always someone who points at this article or gives a different perspective, right? And we can choose to read it, we can choose to ignore it, but most often than not, I think we would like to take a peek of it to say, okay, which article is this, who is talking about what, and things like that. I think that excites me, and I also want to learn. I'm curious, I'm to know what others are doing, which space are they in, are they doing something similar to what I'm doing, what can I learn from them, what I can give to them. I think this is also about getting the people within the community to the next level to say, right? I think that is one of the intentions of this, to say, let's not just sit there in the sidelines. That's okay. If you want to sit, that's your prerogative, but at least let's contribute, let's learn from each other, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Well said. Yeah, well said. I mean, that sort of echoes with me, right? So, when I mean, you asked for
Yeah.
the logo when you said the logo for EdTech Club. Like, I think probably the least amount of time I've spent to design any logo was this logo. Right? I said, okay, you know what is this about? So many people thought it. I mean, when we started, EdTech was such a sort of an alien term. When we said EdTech, people, especially teachers, and they'll feel like, hey, this person, I don't think I'll understand anything that they speak. Right? I know of principals. Ramanan used to be there, right? CFO of Pearson. He actually had a tech club meet at his home. He hosted us, and we had some principals and somebody from the educators, primary school educator, walk up and say, you know what, you're talking a lot of buzzwords. I don't understand. I said, that's okay. You can also talk buzzwords that we will not understand. Right. So the whole purpose of this community is to cross pollinate and make sure that those ideas and those viewpoints and perspectives are heard. Right. And I think this is Manveen Chadda. I don't know if she's still there in the community. Very, very, very experienced principal from Chennai. Right. It is people like these who've come and gone, who've been part of this. There's always this question about what is this EdTech, and I try to keep it very simple. And that's the reason behind the logo also, right? The tech for edu, tech of edu, tech in edu. Okay, tech for edu is basically your policies or NCRT, NCF, NEP, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, RD, all those. These are all basically any vehicles or any compliance mechanisms or ERPs or anything that basically helps education to run, right? And tech of edu, we talk about typically is tech in edu is education is what we typically talk about tech, the ICTs, game-based learning, LMS.
Most of the tools which
all
are
those
complementary to education, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Then there is tech of education, which is basically your pedagogies, experiential learning, active learning, self-regulated learning, game-based learning. These are pedagogies or different best practices that basically gives you frameworks, where you can apply tools to kind of run or deliver certain outcomes or build certain outcomes. Right? So that was a very, very crude concept, and uh, somehow I put these together in a tree and said, what, somewhere this tree will bear
No,
a
no,
fruit.
I think the logo part of it in terms of design, maybe you may not have taken much time, but I think just like you pointed out, right, all of this has been evolving over a period of time, right? Putting
Yeah.
together was not. How to design the logo probably was.
Probably. Again,
Right.
it just evolves. So I think there's a lot that we can do. In fact, Zoho has come forward and said that, hey, we have built a product
Mm,
called Community Spaces. And it's a fantastic platform that basically can help us scale to about 10,000 members. Today, we are almost exhausting the WhatsApp capacity. I don't know
correct,
what to do.
correct.
Where will we go, right? But there's an inherent sort of friction that we have that we can't shift from WhatsApp to something else. I would really love if we can, as a community, try such a product because
Mm,
I played with it. I really loved it, and I thought it would give us a place
mm,
for us to grow, right? And maybe that's something that we will
right,
do.
right.
I don't know. I believe that over a period of time we've run a
Mm,
lot of experiments, and I've personally been not so worried
yeah,
about failing in public. I've run these. I failed even the solution Saturdays. You know how it is. Like I'm still running it, trial and error. It may click, it may not click, but not doing
absolutely.
it is not an
Right,
option.
right. Absolutely.
So,
Can you touch?
that's
Right,
how
right.
this has
No,
evolved.
absolutely. It has to evolve, and you are absolutely right. Failure is something that we should not be afraid of, right? And especially young
Yeah,
people who are looking at it, uh, not only from us, right? Even the stalwarts, right, who have been in the any industry have failed and they have learned
yeah,
from it, come back up, and they have set up very, enterprising businesses. One thing which I wanted to ask you in terms of the EdTech clubs, you do have separate chapters, right? How did I know you started in Chennai and then physically you moved to Bangalore, but then now EdTech
yeah,
India itself is one global club. But then there are a couple of
right.
chapters, right? How did that get formed, and
Mhm.
what is the criteria, if I may? Yeah.
So, great question. See, there's no criteria. Anybody who wants to see, I keep saying this, right? Um, WhatsApp needs an admin, so I'm an admin.
Right.
That's all. The club is as much anybody's as it's mine. I think the only thing is we will all have to be in that same mindset that I will follow these unsaid or unwritten rules. Like this is how I'll conduct in this forum, right? Things like do's and don'ts. Don't come
Mm.
here to just sell a product. You work in a space, it matters to you. Let's talk about the space. I think you need to be seen as a person who cares about, like Karthik, game-based learning. You'll always see
Yeah.
Karthik as the first person to respond. Raghavan Murari, if it's math, he'll be the first person to respond. IIT JEE NEET, Balaji Sampath will be the first person to respond. You know that these people care about that segment really well, and they are the go-to persons when you have it out. So I think it's all about coming in, kind of not claiming your space, but be very vocal about what space within the broad education landscape matters to you, and keep debating about it. And the more you connect with people there, take the conversations offline. Maybe there is a business opportunity out of it. Maybe there is a joint venture that comes out of it. Maybe there is a sale that has come. A lot of people have come and told me that they've been able to collaborate outside. They've been able to find businesses
Right.
from this forum. And, I mean,
Right. Right.
that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
that is how we survive. But this is how we define the
Correct.
quality of our
Yeah.
survival. Yeah. So I think anybody can
Mm.
start a club anywhere. In fact, I had somebody from USA. Can I start a Dallas chapter club? Yeah, sure. Why not? So it's all about, I think, if we can sort of maintain the DNA of what this community is all about, we can open any number of clubs, and it requires a
Mm.
caretaker
Mm.
to curate,
Correct.
right? So somebody has to basically, like, now you have taken some initiatives. I know people have come forward. Srikanth, who was doing the Agara Lake walk, he came forward and said, "Can I
Yeah.
do a walk
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
EdTech club in Bangalore?" Lokap does some beautiful curations. I
Mm.
mean, he runs a different club, leaders in EdTech. But yeah, I mean, he basically says that I will invite people for Pani Puri at my home.
Correct.
We do what we
Correct.
can in our own respect, and we basically kind of bring people together who work in the space, right? I think anybody who has that sort of
Mm.
a bandwidth,
Yeah.
the cognitive spare time, I like to call it. So I think we should offer that. That's one of the ways to pay it forward to the community and
Yeah,
kind of
I think I wanted to touch upon that, pay it forward, right? So I do understand that, but for many of the people who may not understand that term, if you can explain with an example, that would be great.
Sure. I mean, see, any which way I'm going to be spending a few minutes a day
Right.
in social media, right? Any which way I'm going to be spending some time reading something. So if you take any 24 hours, I'm probably spending 1 to 2 hours on my phone doing something, reading, liking, commenting. What I choose to do is basically do that with what the members of the club are doing. That's all. Why do I do that? Simple. If a member of the club is writing a blog post, they do not write it for vacuum, right? They want people to
Comment,
read
yeah.
it. They want people to comment. I can be one of those people, right? And I do have the spare time. I can be not selfish and say, I will read about, I don't know, Russia-Ukraine war. Yeah, I want to read about it. But I can say that I'll spend 1% or 2% of my time there and probably another 15% here, right? So thereby I can keep some time and do whatever little you can like,
Yeah.
comment, share, you can appreciate. There's so many people doing some brilliant work. Yesterday we had 3 members of our club in a
Yes.
webinar that was hosted by Hindu. We had
Shield,
Kota, we
right.
had Shield, we had Anil Gulitsa from Kalvi Labs. I mean, those are
Yeah.
they are giving back, right? Every time somebody takes the time off on a Saturday or something, you're taking time off on a Sunday to do this, right? So all these are basically simple. This is not a simple effort. You've taken on a very
I don't know yet, but
monumental effort.
let you know.
But so I think
Yeah, correct.
we start small. The smallest thing that you can
Yeah.
do is read a post, like a post, comment on it, forward it, connect. It's a network of networks, right? So I mean, you know a few people, I know a few people, and for example, you had to work with some university on a proposal. I mean, there's no reason why you should reach out to me and say, "Can we do
Correct.
something?" There's no reason. Now you found that there's a value that I give. How did I? That because you see me
Absolutely.
kind of commenting on these things. So naturally, the pay it forward will come back. You don't do it with the intention that I need to reap the benefits out of it. See, a lot of the networks that we have on
Yeah.
sales focus, right? There's always this ROI focus. The difference here is don't focus on ROI. Do it because
And ROI will automatically come in anyway.
eventually
Right.
it will come.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
It has to come back.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
how the world works. It has to
No, I think that's a very good point. And the first thing, though I knew about paid forward even before I joined, I think illustrating that day in and day out, where many people actually contribute without expecting anything in return, right? That in itself is why probably many of the people join the club, number one, because that knowledge and learning is spread. And as you rightly pointed out, yes, we did work on a proposal for the college, but it didn't work out. But we got to know about each other much more deeper, right? And because of which I was able to also, 2-3 years ago, I was able to put it out on the group saying that, look, I am trying to work in this space. Is anybody interested in working with me? And that's how I found my technical architect from the group. Right. And he and I have been working for the past couple of years. He is also, I shouldn't say this without him, but he would say that he is a failed EdTech guy. I also have failed. So we kind of got together. Now we think that we are fairly successful. We are above water, right? So there is a purpose for both of us to service the customers that we, in that area. So I think I'm sure there are many other people who have contributed to it. One last question that I have, if this kind of, I will ask this question and then ask the last question. It's kind of connected. If you look at the spread of these 900 members, I know you may not be able to remember all of them or whatever, but is there an area where you would like people to probably come in to this club? So, right, there are EdTech providers, there are vendors, there are uh, educators, teachers, right, right, and people who have been working as trainers, right? Well, many different kinds of people, right? Uh, is there an area
Mhm.
or a space or a couple of areas where you would like people to come into this club that which is the lacuna at this point of time?
I wouldn't call it a lacuna, but probably if you want to
Right,
look at it as a whole ecosystem, right, there are a few areas that definitely we need
right.
to get more representation from.
Mm,
One is from policymakers. There should be more voice from them because, more importantly, if they are also kind of have a mechanism to listen to the
right.
voices that come from the community, right? Maybe that also informs back to their policy making, right? So policy, there are a few civil servants in the group, but I would want to see
Yeah.
if more people come on board. All right, and this could be a self sort of regulated, even a formal body at
Mm,
some point. I don't know. I mean, if that's what the future has for it, so be it, right? But essentially, bringing in policymakers into it will provide us a way in which both we get sort of
understand.
we
Correct.
stay ahead of what policies are coming in and things like that. They can give those inputs, and we can also give into that, give
Mm,
inputs into that, right? That's one. Second, I think there are a lot of people who build products, right? I wouldn't say we need more people, but we need to see if we can actually create a sort of a peer
mm,
review sort of a cycle, right? Where we everybody who has a product actually showcases it. They can choose with the sub cohort within the group that they're most comfortable to showcase into. If you want to sign up a non-confidentiality agreement, do it. If you want to restrict it to non-competitors, so be it. But at least see if we can use the forum to get some very candid feedback, as a because it's not more of bringing more people in, but
correct.
sort of leveraging more value out of it, right? And the third thing is probably, again, we have
Mm,
a lot of builders, people build, but ultimately what you build reaches to the consumer or the
yeah.
customer only if you sell. So in fact, right now for Buddy for Study, for example, I had posted saying, hey, who are the people
Mm,
who sell to the education segment? I was so surprised that not even I think probably one or two responded. So which means that probably there's not, this is something where
yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
is figuring out, right? So if you take, for example,
Mm,
selling devices to the education segment, selling ERPs, selling. So a lot of that, I think, there are some systems that come in place, and I think we need to get more of those people also in for a couple of reasons. Again, one, I think,
mhm.
I'm speaking for myself. As an engineer, I was a bad marketing person. I was a bad selling person, right? I didn't know how to storytell. I didn't know how to. As an engineer, you look at it in a very, very nerdish, very, very sort of
Mhm.
very narrow focus viewpoint, right? I think a person who sells, is able to sort of uncover stories that you would never have thought about, right? And because they're also seeing in the market. For example, I'll tell you this: Buddy for Study. We are a marketplace, or not marketplace. We are a. I like to say this like this to make it simple. We are like a make my trip for educational funding, right? So just like your make my trip connects a person who's a traveler to
So,
every travel
yeah.
resource, we would like to connect every student who needs funding for some level of education to every possible type of funding resources available in the country. As simple as that. Now, if I look at it that way and I said, okay, let me go and talk to the colleges, and I was trying to tell a huge story, telling them all perspectives, and here comes somebody who sells or who's actually talking to universities. He looks at the product and says, "Oh, um, I uh, I can get my
Ah,
alumni funding
okay.
through this."
Mm, right,
That's all, right?
right.
So they don't want to complicate.
Yeah,
They don't. They
yeah.
want to look at specifics, right? One problem that is a problem pain point for that institution, I'll just focus on that, right? Or a lot of faculty members want to do PhD.
Mm,
There are scholarships for PhD
yeah,
available here. So the person was actually picking up on what is relevant to that institution as a pain point, what would resonate, which otherwise, when you stay outside, doesn't really,
correct,
it's
correct.
not really evident. So bringing that sort of insights, in fact, I recently added one person into the group for this, and essentially, I'm thinking like there are more voices people who are close to decision makers, people who understand what are the pain points of these institutions, should be able to come and say to a group of people who build. We have people who can build.
Right.
Look at some of the products that have been built by the people in the communities. Brilliant. Look at, your own QR code based solution. Brilliant. The thing is, if we understand, some of us are gifted, blessed that we find the market and we find the customer or consumer that understands our product. Many of us are not, right? And that's where this intelligence has to flow through. And the last part is basically in terms of, I think what we also need is a good mix of educators. When I say educators, we need people. See, it's not about only progressive educators. Most EdTech communities or EdTech conferences, they're always looking for progressive educators. I think we will be inclusive and say all educators for only one reason. If the person who's struggling who's an educator struggling to use technology in their classroom today, if you have built a product for them, it will work for everybody else.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Right. So I think that today probably somewhere we are still people are sort of look at EdTech level and say, oh, it's something big and I don't want. So there's this sort of aversion to it, right? I think somewhere we need to kind of bridge that gap and see, hey, we are not some sort of brainy population or whatever it is, and we need to be excluded. It's all about, I might talk some language which you may not understand. You might talk a language which I don't understand. Let's get together and understand each other, right? So that sort of a communication has to be established. So again, getting more policymakers, getting more sellers, and I shouldn't put it as sellers, but people who basically take
who understand the ground realities of the educational institutions or the organizations that actually deliver to the correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. We engineers, we tend to overbuild, actually. Over-engineer, overbuild, over-solution it. But sometimes all you need is just a 0.1% of your solution for that institution's problem to go away. Right? And that's probably just an entry point. That's still fine. We don't have to solve 100% of our vision today.
No, I think this conversation has been enlightening for me in probably 10 different ways. And I think I have picked up at least about 5-6 points for whom I should contact for my other podcasts, right? Not only podcasts, but also in terms of, so for example, I also believe that if the educators, for example, school principals or college, professors, and some of them, maybe not a webinar, but even to understand their pain points, will help the community as a whole to say, oh, is this what they are thinking? I thought I'm building a solution for this, but then what they want and what I'm building are two separate things, right? Right. I think that if we can get that into this community, it is going to be a tall order. I'm not, because it is probably something new for all of us to be in the same room, so to speak. But definitely, I think I'm looking forward to. I will try my level best to get as many, and I'm sure there are other people who can also do that. Thank you very much, Varadarajan, for your time. I know it's again, you mentioned Sunday. I have to thank you for taking the time out on a Sunday. But just like you are passionate, I'm sure there are a lot of other passionate people out there. Passion is what I think brings out the best in us, right? So definitely, I think, Swan, and at some point of time, I'm also looking at how we can bring in students from colleges and schools. It might be even in their own language, right? Whether it is Kannada, Tamil, or Hindi, or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Express the way they feel, because today's generation is quite different from the generation that, the decades that we grew in, right? If AI would have been there for Y2K, probably quite different, right? But then, yeah. Any final thoughts or any way forward or whatever it is, or yeah, okay.
Sure. So I'll just leave with one small sort
Yeah,
of ask or a request, right? I think it's fundamentally people. We all come together for because we sort of are passionate or solving for some areas of within the education space. There is some commonality. That's why we are here, right? What is imperative now is to. I mean, there's so many networks, so many communities that we are part of. Every community has a purpose. I think if everybody there's a video that's out there when people sign up, I share the link to the video and tell them that hey, this is watch this video. I think it is important for everybody in the community to sort of understand what is this community for, right? It is about sharing and learning. It is about paying it forward. It is about sort of using this as a sounding board, in your early product decisions, in your product thinking, in your research, in your you customer acquisition, in your any sort of journey, right, within the education or tech space. And it's not only tech as an information technology. It's tech,
right,
even a
absolutely.
chalk piece or a blackboard is a tech to me. So it's if we can look at it as truly understand the purpose of this community, sort of build connections one on one. Like Ram
Yeah,
Prakash, I think
yeah,
we've met
yeah,
once or twice. I think that's all right. But we share this sort of camaraderie, this bond, and that sort of evolved because we've had a lot of discussions one on one and then on the group. So I think that's a beautiful way to sort of understand who are the other people in the market, what do they care about, what do they work on, and participate and basically sort of pay it forward, build that rapport. I keep saying that don't wish them on Diwali or don't wish them on this. It's not
right.
to be sort of aristocratic or sort of heavy-handed. It is about first everybody should kind of develop this one-on-one good rapport that you would want to wish them one-on-one. And there are a lot of forums where you can do group, customary group wishes. This is not the forum for that, right? Here we come together with a purpose. The purpose is for us to kind of, work together, solve together, think together, give together, sort of in the whole educational ecosystem. And see if we can become better, our products can become better, our services can become better, and
Yeah,
thereby sort of the ecosystem also gets better. In that process you build this one-on-one sort of opportunities, joint ventures, partnerships, business opportunities, growing your product, acquiring new customers. That's a
right.
kind of a byproduct. So I would like to leave with that message saying that invest more time in sort of establishing yourself as who you are, what do you work on, why that area matters to you, why that area is critical to the
Yeah,
let's say Indian learners, and what is it that you're solving for, and who are the other people who are solving for, whether they align with your thinking or not. So invest in this. Eventually, you'll find the business model out of it. I think this community is more towards having that safe space for people who work in education to ask for help to kind of make themselves better, make their product better,
great.
be
Excellent,
vulnerable, and grow
excellent.
together.
I think that definitely resonates well with me, and I'm sure that it resonates with many others. Thank you very much again. And I'm sure that this is not the first and last time. There are going to be many, many more conversations like this, and probably involving others too, because I have taken down many notes in terms of some of the points that you touched, right? In terms of skilling, right? Employability,
Yep.
and the connect between the school to college to so when what happens outside, how can we bring some of the learnings from the Western thinking specifically to solve our problems, not to just bring them down here, right? So we have all had different experiences. I think to come together, as you rightly put, to share those experiences and learn together and grow together. Thank you very much once again, and good luck to you for in terms of
Thank
buddy
you.
for study. And I'm keen. I'm very keen to watch that space. Right, and thank you again. Yeah,
Thanks, Ram Prakash. Thanks for
thank you.
doing this.